Hey guys, welcome back to Book Club for Movies. This week we're doing things pretty similarly to how we've done in the past, but that doesn't mean next week's going to be the same. More on that later. It's my favorite thing I get to do on Monday. If I've seen a movie over the weekend, my wife goes to line dancing, and that means I've got about an hour of just you and I to talk about what I saw this last weekend. Now, this last weekend, I got to see the new Christopher Nolan film, The Odyssey, and I can't wait to tell you my thoughts on it. But before we get there, let's talk about how I ended up seeing The Odyssey, where I saw The Odyssey, how much it cost, what concessions I got, and what trailers I saw before we get there. Now, for those unaware, The Odyssey is the first feature film filmed entirely in IMAX. That's big news, especially for somebody like Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan has used portions of scenes filmed in IMAX all the way back to The Dark Knight. And that's where, depending on the movie, people complain about all of the constantly changing aspect ratios. Because when it's IMAX film, it's full, it's big, it's a large scope. But then we get back to non-IMAX films. And there's a reason for that. It's not just because film is inordinately expensive and IMAX is much more expensive than that. It's because IMAX cameras are inordinately loud compared to regular cameras. I'll see if I can find some clips to splice in here of just how loud IMAX cameras are by comparison. So typically, you'd film those for action scenes, large spectacle scenes, but not dialogue scenes. And that was one of the things that interested me in seeing this movie. Not just because Christopher Nolan is one of my favorite filmmakers working today, but because this is the first movie of its scale filmed in IMAX. I do want to say, unfortunately, there are no actual IMAXs in my state or really in my neck of the woods. I know people were losing their mind buying flights and tickets to see this movie in the proper 70 millimeter projection. That's not me. I wish I had that money. I don't have that money. If I had that money, I probably still couldn't spend it on flights to see one movie once. But there's a lot of things to keep in mind. Now, you all know me by this point. I love few things more than my dead mall theater just because it's cheap and I get to see movies for $7.50 most weeks. But for the Odyssey, I wanted to take things up a notch. I wanted to see a premium experience. But the problem is that my Fandango credit is only $10 a month. So what premium experience can I get within spitting distance of $10 credit a month? So let's keep in mind, my dead mall theater, $7.50 a ticket. That's fine. Except I don't get any Fandango points for that. If my ticket price doesn't have anything left over that needs to be spent with on my gift card, credit card, whatever it may be, I don't get any Fandango points for that. I found that out when I saw Obsession a couple months ago, and because my ticket was $7.50 and I used my $10 credit, I don't get any Fandango points for that. And I like the Fandango points because once I've purchased 4 tickets, I get a $5 credit. True followers of the channel are aware of that. So I ran some numbers. Now, I like to see long movies, or most movies in general, as early as possible on Saturday. That way I've not wasted my entire day on my favorite hobby in the world. But, got other things you gotta do when you're an adult. You can't just spend your entire day watching movies, as fun as that would be. So I looked around in my area. I'm like, how much would another, ticket cost? I had just seen a couple weeks ago, I saw Disclosure Day at my AMC in High Point, and that costs $11.52 with that 20% off matinee pricing. Then I said, but how much would an actual IMAX ticket cost? And the nice theater in my area, the nice Regal, It's $25. Now that's pretty steep for one ticket purchase, even if we're talking about an IMAX screen. And even though mine is, I think, technically considered a LIMAX because it's not 70 millimeter, it's a digital projection. So, it's not all that it's cracked up to be. But Regal has its own premium tier, separate from IMAX. They call it RPX for the Regal Premium Experience. And an RPX ticket costs $16.54 for my local Regal. Now, there's a reason why I'm coming back to this, I promise. Now, if I wanted to go on a trek, because I also thought, how fun would it be if I went on my own Odyssey to see the Odyssey? If I drove, let's say, 90 minutes, 2 hours to a nice theater. There's an Alamo Draft House about 90 minutes away from me, and the ticket would have cost me $13.93. And I've heard nothing more than the Alamo Draft House has gone downhill since Sony bought it. So I'm like, maybe that's not what we do this week. There was a premium Regal, not RPX, but what they classified as Regal Dolby with a special little Dolby badge. That was also 90 minutes away, and that cost $18.61 for the premium experience. So we're kind of getting there in that sweet spot. I desperately want to see a movie in 4DX. There's one 4DX theater in my relative area. It's 90 minutes away from me. 4DX, for those who don't know, that's where you kind of have 4 seats in the roller coaster environment. Now, you're not spinning 360 degrees like you would at the theme park, but your entire row kind of moves down and around. You get sprayed, there's scents. That sounds like a fantastic time. But with all of the moving parts and lack of seats involved with those mechanics, a 4DX ticket costs $26.51. Which again, just for me, that's not what I'm doing. And then I discovered this kind of sweet spot. There's a theater in what used to be the Brassfield Cinemas. It's no longer Brassfield. It's called Golden Ticket. And Golden Ticket has a premium screen. Now, I saw a non-premium screen back in Thanksgiving of last year when my wife and I saw Wake Up Dead Man in the theater. And didn't have the best experience. You come in, the theater was small, 2 rows, the theater was cramped, not a lot of space between the seats, so when you finally get comfortable and someone decides that they need to use the bathroom, you kind of have to decline to get back to allow them through. And for about the first half of the previews, the lights were on, and they were the standard office floodlighting. I've got a picture that I'll drop in here where I talk about this is what I considered to be the Golden Ticket experience. But I saw that they had a premium tier. And from what it looked like it could be a good experience, especially when you're telling me that premium experience could be mine for $12.81. 11.1 surround sound, reclining seats for $12.81. Now, you're speaking my language. That's a stone's throw from my $10 credit for the month. Then I had the title for this week thought of, which is, Can Fandango Help the Odyssey Find the Golden Ticket? Not realizing until about 3/4 of the way through the Odyssey that I go, oh, Jason and the Argonauts. They're the Golden Fleece. It's not the Odyssey. But that title is too good for me to change at this point, so we're keeping it there. Now, I did go to the Golden Ticket. Got my notes here. I went to the Golden Ticket, and I saw this movie at 10:30. Perfect time to see a movie that is 3 hours long before previews. Now, I saw this movie at 10:30, and at 10:30, I got there probably about 10:10. The lobby was packed. And I waited through, I look up at the menu board because I had been going back and forth all week on what I would get. I should get something here that I can't get elsewhere. And they had a lot of options. They've got sliders, they've got Korean spring rolls, but I saw that they had a milkshake. And I couldn't tell you the last time that I had a milkshake. And much like Odysseus in this movie being haunted by Athena, I kept being haunted by my own self saying, Gray, a popcorn and milkshake combo does not work. And I said, how could that be true? How could that be true? In Disclosure Day, when I had my kids pack and I had fruit snacks and my popcorn, I liked that little bit of sweet. And so, much like Odysseus and his own hubris, I ordered a cookies and cream milkshake and a large popcorn. Now, I tried to get the bucket because while I was in line, I looked up and I saw on the menu board that the bucket was half off since we're halfway through the year. My large popcorn was $10. The bucket was $12. And I said, that sounds fantastic. I'm loving this place already, and if I come back, it's practically paid for itself at that point. And the woman said, I'm sorry, we are sold out of the bucket. We've been sold out for months. We probably won't get another bucket order in until October. Now, if they can have a discounted price for the October to December metric, I might find myself there again. But we'll come back to that. So yes, I did order a large popcorn. Now the large does include a refill. That's something to keep in mind. The large popcorn was $10. My cookies and cream milkshake came to $7.50. Not bad for movie theater captive audience pricing. So with tax, my concessions came to $18.68. Now, before we go any further, let's go ahead and update our tracking so far for this year. When we talked about Supergirl, I saved my $10 credit for whatever else I wanted to see in the month of July, and that ended up being the Odyssey. So, for starting from our post-Supergirl value of $73.57, we add on my $10 monthly credit for Fandango Fan Club for the use in July, and then we add on our ticket fee of $2.19 being waived. This brings our value so far for the year to $85.76. That's not bad at all, and we are still enjoying this membership, all gripes aside. Now, of course, my ticket was $12.81, so even with my $10 credit being used, I still had to use $2.81 from my gift card. Our gift card tracking has lowered from $16.72, from where we left off after seeing Supergirl the second time, to $13.91. We're coming up on the end of our $100 gift card for the year. It served us well. I'm kind of shocked it's lasted this long, but it's still got a little bit of fight in it. I've got something in mind for August that will definitely empty that out, but we're going to keep that in mind. And then let's bump up our concessions tracking. So when we left off seeing Supergirl the second time with the mini corn dogs that were delicious, we add on our large popcorn and our milkshake cost of $18.68. That takes us from $214.29 to $232.97. And we are halfway through the year. And I worry, much like Odysseus, of how one man's hubris and neglect can bring horrors among everyone. So, let's first talk about the theater. Now, I will say, it is a massive screen. For $12.81, this screen could not be bigger. And I will say, upon first impressions, the floor does look sloped. But it's not sloped enough. Now, I had prime seating since I bought these tickets pretty early. I bought these tickets on Wednesday before the movie came out. The theater did not fill up that full, but my row was full, except for the seat next to me. Seat on my left. The woman in the row behind me came up and she said, "Can you please recline the empty seat next to you? It's right in my eye line." Because that's the problem with flat theaters. You people building movie theaters with flat floors. If you do not have a perfect middle seat or closer to the screen, you will not be able to see the full extent of the screen, even a screen this size. And because these are reclining seats, they have a little mechanism in them that knows if somebody is seated in them, like the passenger airbag. The seat would only recline so far. So this poor woman for 3 hours had a seat probably sticking through her eye line like that. I had a similar first world problem. My popcorn bag was too big on my little tray table. My popcorn bag was so big that it was cutting into my own vision of the movie. So I had to kind of press it down and fold in the edges. I'll tell you, that milkshake was pretty good. Everything was good except for the cherry. The cherry tasted old. The cherry tasted off. But I'm telling you, cookies and cream milkshake during a 3-hour movie, that might be my favorite concession so far this year. Popcorn was not great, but I did get a good volume for $10, and I'm always going to get popcorn when I go to the movies, regardless of if the popcorn's amazing or terrible. Just knowing me, I'm going to have to get popcorn when I go to the theater. I will confirm, much like the Vision of Athena, popcorn and milkshake do not mix. They do not go well together. So I basically had to eat the popcorn until I was sick of it, and then I would drink the milkshake. And then after the milkshake was done, probably about 30 minutes into the movie, I then ate more popcorn. Because popcorn and milkshake just do not go well together. I can confirm that if you were curious. A popcorn and a cookies and cream milkshake do not go well together. Trailers before this movie? First trailer I had is they've made another Fockers movie. I don't know who wants these. I think the last one came out when I was in high school, and I remember that one getting terrible reviews. I think that one was called Little Fockers. I've only seen Meet the Parents, and I didn't love it enough to watch any of the rest of them. This one's added Ariana Grande to the cast, and I don't know I don't know why she keeps showing up, because she's fine in Wicked doing a Kristen Chenoweth impression, but she just doesn't have comedic timing in her speech, at least as far as the trailer's concerned, which if you don't look funny in a trailer for a comedy, especially a broad comedy like this, those are your best moments. Those are your best takes. And the movie's not looking great. I got a repeat trailer for Dog Stars. That's the name of it. I wrote down Dog Soldiers, which is not the name of the movie. It's Dog Stars, but I keep calling it Dog Soldiers in my head. Same trailer I had before Disclosure Day. It seemed fine. Then I had a trailer for Dune 3. First time I've seen a trailer for Dune 3. I didn't love Dune 1 enough to see Dune 2. And so when you see the trailer for the ending of the story, if you have no idea what's going on after Dune 1, it's just a lot of visual noise. And I have no idea what's happening in this series. I saw that Jason Momoa was back, even though he died in the first one. I don't know what's happened there. Eventually I'll see Dune 2. I love Denis Villeneuve, but I'll get to Dune 2 eventually, which means eventually I'll get to Dune 3. But then I got the trailer for Digger. Now, when I spoke with you all last time, I had what I called the Tom Cruise fan cam trailer for Digger, which was a clip of every movie Tom Cruise had ever made. And then it hard cut to him in deep makeup saying, bang, 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 or whatever. The trailer for Digger, the full plot trailer. Again, I hope this does well, because I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I know when my friend Ben sees this trailer, he's also going to look forward to seeing it. It's Doctor Strangelove. That's what this trailer is. It is a new generation's Doctor Strangelove. Tom Cruise is in deep makeup. John Goodman looks great. Riz Ahmed looks great. I cannot wait to see this movie. I really hope Inarritu swings through the fences and hits this out of the park because the trailer looks fantastic. After that, I had the trailer for Robert Eggers' Werewolf, which, after seeing the trailer for The Witch recently, spoilers, I'll come back to that in just a few minutes, this looks like The Witch again, but on Robert Eggers' more experienced and nuanced terms. Because Robert Eggers does not enjoy The Witch. It was his first film, and he does not enjoy it. I don't think he really, in his own head, knew how to make a movie to his scale yet. So him going back to a very similar territory, it's probably him writing the ship right in his own head. But I will not see Werewolf. I've got plenty more Robert Eggers and A24 films that I'm sure my good friend Ben is going to require me to see first before we show up to Werewolf. But the last trailer that I had before this movie started is for Other Mommy with Jessica Chastain. When I tell you this trailer is absolutely terrifying, I can't wait to see this movie. It basically, from the premise, is there's this family that's being haunted by an essentially a monstrous copy of the mother figure, and it's horrifying to see Jessica Chastain in this, like, this blank face contorted under a table. The movie looks absolutely terrifying, and I love Jessica Chastain. She's one of the best actresses working, and to see her get to go full tilt in a horror performance, I am stoked, and I hope to see this thing opening weekend. That's it for the trailers. Let's talk about the movie. Now, I will admit this movie did make me smile immediately when the Universal logo and the Syncope logo were gilded in Odyssey style, and then the movie starts proper, and I tell you, this is probably the best movie that I will see this year. Now, it's not my favorite movie that I saw this year. Don't get me twisted there. It's not going to be number one, but this is the best movie that I have seen this year. When we're talking about the scale, there are so many things this movie just captures. And getting to see so many fantastic performances, it's so great to see so many people used well. This is the first time I've seen Tom Holland in something where I say, you might actually be a decent actor. Because, the writing in those Spider-Man movies is nothing to write home about. So to see him with an actual script and an actual great director, it's like, oh, Tom Holland's pretty okay in this. And Hathaway is exceptional. All of the minor performances, Pattinson playing this sniveling little douchebag is really, really good. And it gives me almost Matt Damon pathetic vibes from Interstellar with just how well he's able to play just this sniveling little man. Oh, he's so good in this movie. Elliot Page is fantastic in their very, very minor performance. I loved seeing Nolan using them again because I don't think they've been in a Nolan project since Inception. They're used very, very well. There's a lot of minor performances. I mean, Charlize's Calypso is amazing. Anne Hathaway is amazing. Zendaya is really, really good. Lupita Nyong'o is great. James Remar, fake dad from Dexter. He's really good as Tiresias. Yes, Tiresias. Matt Damon is great in this movie, but I will tell you that's just a personal problem of mine is I can never separate Matt Damon as a performer from Matt Damon playing somebody. Every time I just see him on the screen, I'm like, Matt Damon's here. Everybody else, I don't have that problem with, and I'll tell you, Matt Damon is good in this movie. But the best performance, my choice so far this year for best supporting actor, is John Leguizamo. John Leguizamo is fantastic in this movie. He steals every scene that he's in. We get to see him throughout the entire movie. John Leguizamo deserves an Academy Award for this movie. I'm sure he's going to be in tough contention, being that it's nowhere near Oscar season, but I'm telling you, John Leguizamo deserves a great award for this performance. The movie is told perfectly because we see flashes of various parts of, oh, John Bernthal! John Bernthal's also great in this movie. Sorry. Movie of this scale, there are so many fantastic performances that it's really hard to keep track of them all. Matt Damon's Odysseus' second in command. His name escapes me. But I was like, who is this guy? He's also really, really good. And then I look him up and he's the guy from Yesterday. And I'm like, this performance is out of the guy from Yesterday? That's Nolan for you. The movie really does well at reincorporating the shattered, separated timeline from Dunkirk, where we see many things out of order. And it really, really works for a story that's being told in the style of the Odyssey, where you've got one character recounting this time, or we're experiencing a different portion of the story. And, it starts off by teasing the Trojan horse. And then you don't see the Trojan horse story in earnest for 2 hours, maybe? And then once you see the Trojan horse story, you're like, I completely forgot about the Trojan horse not being shown yet. And it was this movie that really kind of brought it home to me, where it's like, yeah, the Trojan horse wouldn't have been on wheels. So when you see these people, dragging the Trojan horse into the city. I did not love the Cyclops' design, but I loved everything else about that Cyclops sequence. The way we get to see the massive change in scale between the Cyclops and Odysseus and his men. When the Cyclops eats one of Odysseus's men, you can very clearly see a recreation of the painting of Saturn eating his own son. It's horrifying. I can't wait to see this movie again. I will definitely be purchasing this movie when it's available on home video. I loved this movie, and it really felt like I was experiencing the closest thing Christopher Nolan will make to a horror film, because it works on so many different levels. You get the horror of the monsters, and then you get the horror of one man's hubris, and then it rings back around to the horrors of war. And they tie that in with Zendaya as Athena, and it really, really works. This movie almost made me cry when Odysseus reunites with his favorite hunting dog. That scene got me to well up, but then, of course, with the way the Odyssey ends, the tears were immediately forgotten by one pretty well shot action scene. Because when you see a movie that's filmed entirely in IMAX, everything looks like an action scene. When you're talking about that full 70 millimeter scale, yet you don't really, because when you watch a Nolan movie from the last 15 years, you're like, okay, let's wait for the screen to get wide, and then we can actually see some fighting happen. But then when you're watching the Odyssey, at that full aspect ratio, it's genuinely really good. I can't wait to see this movie, even if it's on my own home cinema at the 4K and not whatever they're able to project movies at a screen this size. Because this movie genuinely is really good. It felt like I was watching, my generation's 10 Commandments or Ben-Hur, just to see a movie on this scale done so well. And it's really haunting when it ties into just the weight Odysseus is carrying, knowing the mistakes that he brought upon himself, and how he is forced to live through all of these mistakes, and there's nothing he can do. And he keeps being punished, and he just keeps, thinking this is the only way I can do this. And then it stumbles into more and more things. But there's a lot of mini horror films in here. It's not just the Cyclops scene. It's not just Cersei, with the soup and what the soup does to Odysseus's men. It's not, but it's just, the real horror of time and not having enough of it and losing so much of it to something like war. And it really, really works. And I'm so glad that I got to see this movie this weekend. I've not seen, Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer resonated with me, but the Odyssey might be a little bit better than Oppenheimer. And if I'm going to call The Back Rooms heady horror, and if I call Obsession pop horror, The Odyssey's kind of the baby bear between the two, because you can watch this as an epic film, you can watch this as a horror film, you can watch this as an action movie. It really does a lot of things well, and that's why I'm giving this movie a 5 out of 5. Now, it's not my favorite movie of the year. I'm going to move it into third place. It's not my favorite movie of the year, but it may be the best movie that I've seen this year. And when the Oscars come around next year, I would not be surprised if Nolan brings home Best Picture again, because of what he's able to pull off on this scale, and the fact that the Odyssey was able to open at his largest scale yet worldwide. Not domestic, but worldwide, it outpaced The Dark Knight Rises. Christopher Nolan got so many people to sit in a theater opening weekend and see The Odyssey, a 3-hour-long epic film. Nobody else could do that except for Chris Nolan. And that's why he's got a blank check from me. I will pay to see whatever he puts out opening weekend, because he's never let me down. And he's the only one taking chances. He's like, what if I took all of the money it would take to film an entire movie in IMAX? That nobody else is going to get the okay for that except for Christopher Nolan. And that's why, it's going to be a 3-year gap, as always, before his next movie. And I cannot wait to see what he does next. Because I just saw an interview with him recently where he said, the Odyssey was difficult to make, and you knew if it wasn't, then we weren't making the Odyssey. And I'm like, yes, Nolan, you make yourself miserable because you are making a movie of this scale and you want it done right. I did something last weekend. Not this last weekend, but the weekend before that. I got together with my best friend Ben, because I never knew what his favorite movies were. And he never knew what my favorite movies were. So we got together and we talked for 5.5 hours about our favorite movies. We basically made our BFI ballots. And that's why I'm so happy to say those are all edited, and I'll be releasing those in parts over the next couple weeks. Now, we did chicken out a little bit. We did a top 15. We did our 5 honorable mentions before we got to the ballot proper. So if you like hearing me talk about movies, and if you liked hearing my friend Ben talk about movies from our backrooms discussion, there's a whole lot of content coming. But due to its format and its length, it's going to be a limited series. It's not going to be Book Club for Movies, episode whatever, through the end of it. I'm calling it Book Club for Movies Presents the Greatest Movies Ever Made, because that's what we consider them to be. And I've got something in mind for August. Now, if it doesn't work out, you'll never know what that is. But we've been doing this a year now. and I want to keep you all on your toes to what to expect from this channel. So anyway, we may be doing something a little different next week, but that's what you're expecting from the channel here, and your host of Book Club for Movies. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this. If you did, if you could leave a like, if you could leave a comment, or even consider subscribing, it would mean the world to me. We had a 25% increase in subscribers over the last couple weeks, and that has meant so much to me. You all have no idea how much enjoyment I get out of doing this silly little show, and I hope that you all tag along with me for the ride. If you do, have a fantastic week. If you decide not to, I still hope you have a great week because this world is hard enough making it through the day. So, with that, have a great week for everybody. I'll catch you all next time on Book Club for Movies. Have a great week.
We're on YouTube now.
Can I tell you that even though we're both wearing headphones, there's microphones in front of us. I forget that we're recording.
Oh, really?
Because I'm just like, why is Ben talking about this?
Breaking the fourth
As
wall.
Literally, I've got lights here, the camera there.
Our production team put up all this stuff.
Right.
Yep. No, we're just hanging out.
We've got a poor PA that's can never get my coffee right running somewhere.
Yeah, I know. I hate that guy.